Hope it's going to be fun and emotional tonight, says Arpan. I'll try my best. Why not? Why not? All right, it's just connecting across YouTube Live. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the chat off. So you can only chat with me. You can't chat amongst yourselves. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a link into the chat. If at any time you can't view my screen because it looks blurry or it's not formatting properly, I want you to click this link into which is in the chat, okay? Okay, good. And okay, the link is going into the chat now. If you have any issues viewing the screen, you'll have to click that. Cool, let's get started. I'm sorry I'm late. Let's get cut to the chase. Cool, good. I think we're all good. Hi, everybody. My name's Jay. It's good to be here on a Thursday evening in Australia. I don't know what time it is where you are in the world, but nevertheless, what we're going to do is a PTE Listening live mock test, and this is the 79 plus live mock test. So what we're going to do specifically is look at a summarized spoken text. We're going to do 2 multiple choice choose multiple answers, 1 fill in the blanks, 2 highlight correct summaries because they're tough, 2 multiple choice choose single answers because they're tough, a select missing word, a highlight incorrect words, and 3 write from dictation tasks. These are the, what are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, I believe, different tasks that you'll get in PTE Listening, right? So just the number of these that you'll get in the test. Okay, so you might get between 2 and 3 summarized spoken text, 2 and 3 multiple choice, multiple answers, 2 and 3 fill in the blanks, 2 or 3 rather highlight summaries, multiple choice single answer 2 or 3, select missing word 2 or 3, highlight incorrect words 2 or 3, and write from dictation you'll get between 3 and 4. Now these suggested times are a little bit off. I'm going to fix these for next week, so please don't pay attention to these too carefully, except for summarized spoken text, which is correct. Okay, just an important note, I won't provide individual feedback on your writing because there are just too many people in here. If you want feedback, you'll have to do that through the feedback and assessments and in your individual tutorials. This is what summarized spoken text looks like on test day. It's pretty straightforward. You just get an audio play here and you get a text box here. This will tell you that you've got 1 of 2. This one is in fact timed separately to the other tasks. So what you should do for this particular task is spend the entire 10 minutes on each of these tasks. For the remainder tasks after summarized spoken text, you'll need to use your time wisely by moving through the tasks efficiently. Okay, here's the method for this one. I want you to focus, of course, concentrate. I want you to write down 6 or 8 keywords and key concepts onto a piece of paper. You have to take notes. Then after that, you'll be writing a summary between 50 and 70 words. The summary will look like this. This is a very basic summary, but what you'll do is you'll write this first, and then you'll extend this and elaborate on this to make it more, well, not necessarily complicated, more complex in terms of the richness of the sentence structures, the vocabulary, etc. But that's a very good foundation summary to use. But if you want to get 79 plus in writing, then you're going to have to extend your sentences into compound sentences, complex sentences, etc. Okay, let's do it. Just before we do that, let me check that everything's hunky-dory. Yep, it's all working. Cool. There are 8 sections to listening, by the way. Sorry about that. Here we go. Ready? You know, full 10 minutes.
I wanted to say something about morality and about mixed feelings that people have about finance. I note that undergraduate, I don't know how you feel about finance. Some people have a reaction. If you say you're taking a course in finance, they think that maybe you're selling out, maybe you value money too much, and that you should really be in some other field. That this is a long-standing conflict in our thinking. There is some contempt for finance, I believe, because it makes so much money for many people. Many of our students go into finance. Yale is very strong in providing people to the financial community. And I have to say they do very well. And so my first advice is if you want to make money, which I don't particularly advise, but if you do, not a bad idea to go into finance. Just as you can make a lot of money with organic chemistry too. I think that what you have to do as a young person is develop your human capital, and that means know-how, knowing how to do things.
Just another 30 seconds to check. I think I gave you too much time in this one. All right, that should be enough. How's it going, by the way? All good? Cool. I can see some fabulous little summaries popping up there in the chat. Thank you for that. Okay, good. Well done. All right, let's have a look at a couple of model answers here, or possible answers, I should say. Okay, so some of the key words that you may have noted down would have been words like morality, mixed feelings, perhaps finance was a definite keyword. Reaction, conflict, contempt, money, again, finance, human capital. These are all critical keywords. And hopefully you got the entire gist, and maybe you wrote something like this. The speaker was discussing morality and our mixed feelings about finance. He mentioned that some people have a negative reaction and there is a conflict in our thinking. Next, he describes how people don't like how you make a lot of money in finance. Finally, he suggested that it's important for young people to develop their human capital, which means their know-how. I probably wouldn't suggest using apostrophes like this, actually. Just keep your words quite simple if you can. Another model answer would be the speaker was discussing morality and finance. He described how some people have a negative reaction to those who study finance. Then he talked about the conflict in the way we think about finance. He discussed how people have contempt for finance because some people say others make too much money. Finally, he suggested that developing human capital and knowing how to do things well. I don't think that last sentence makes much grammatical sense. And it's probably got too many uses of the word finance. You probably should be thinking about using synonyms here: finance, capital, money, words like this. If you do notice that you're using the same word multiple occasions, do try to think of a synonym that's the same. Cool, well done. That's a good exercise. How did you go? You've scored on these variables or these criteria, scored on content, form. So content means that you've noted down keywords and included them in your writing, in your summary. Form just means length, actually. Length would be a better term. If you wrote between 50 and 70, you get 2 points. Grammar, if it's 100% correct, you get 2 points. If there are some errors, 1. If there are lots of errors, 0. Vocabulary is about choice of words. Good choice of words, you get 2. If you make errors in your vocabulary, 1. If your word choice impedes or hinders communication, 0. Spelling, you get 2, 1, or 0. Okay, so it's out of 10. So maybe give yourself a score out of 10, what you think you would get there. Let's do multiple choice, choose multiple answers. This one's tough. This is what it looks like on test day. You'll see the audio player here. You'll see specifically square buttons. There's definitely not. Okay, and of these square buttons here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answer options. 2 or 3 will be correct, okay? But critically, here's the question prompt. The question prompt is here. Okay, you need to read that. That's very important. Right, here's the method. First, you need to read that question prompt carefully, and you'll have 7 seconds to skim the response options very quickly. But number 3 is the most important. Number 3 is where you focus, you listen, and you take notes. It's almost impossible to do this task accurately without taking notes, by just looking. You need to listen, take notes, then use your notes and your memory to select the correct answers. Reread the prompt, read the response options, eliminate incorrect ones, select the correct ones that were mentioned. So there's negative scoring in this. Now, just before we go on to negative scoring, actually, don't just select options because some of the keywords were mentioned. Make sure that it says the same thing as the audio, okay? Let's go through the negative scoring. So let's say that there are 5 answer options and A and B are correct. So you choose A and B, you get 2 points. If you choose A and C, you'll get 0 because it's 1 minus 1. If you just choose A, that's fine. You can walk away with 1 point, or B, for example. If you choose 2 incorrect answers, it just stops at 0. If you choose nothing, you get nothing. If you choose A, B, and C, well, you get 2 minus 1. That's 1 point there. Let's do this one. I want you to listen carefully. wait, let me walk you through it. I'm going to click this. You're going to have 7 seconds to read this and very quickly read through this. Probably not enough time to read every one. Then you're going to turn away from this and you're going to take notes and listen very carefully. After that's finished, you're then going to select the right answers. Let's see.
What do you think would happen if you invited an individual who had been living on the street for many years, had mental health issues, and was an alcoholic to move directly from the street into housing? We had heard this was being done in New York City, and we wondered, and it was called the Housing First model, and we wondered if it would work in Utah. So to make that determination, we decided to create a pilot, and Kita was one of the 17 chronically homeless individuals we included in this pilot. She had been on the street for 20 plus years, had mental health, and was a severe alcoholic. The first night in her apartment, she put her belongings on the bed and slept on the floor. The next 3 nights, she slept out by the dumpster near the apartment building. With the aid of her case manager, she moved back into her apartment, but continued to sleep on the floor for several nights. It took over 2 weeks for her to develop enough trust and confidence that this apartment was hers and would not be taken away from her before she would start sleeping in the bed. Homelessness is a continuing challenge for many cities throughout our country.
All right, I'll just give you another 10 seconds to select your answers. Okay, 2 minutes is definitely too long to spend selecting the answers there. Really, what should happen is this. You listen to the lecture, you look away from the computer, you listen intently, take notes. Then when that's finished, you've got your memory, which has been reinforced by your note-taking, and you've got the evidence there in your notes. Then you look at the answer options and you go, no, no. Check your notes, yes, and your memory, yes, yes, like that. Cool. Just give me 1 second to do something here. To get my little drawing tool out. Okie dokie, there it is there, fantastic. All right, cool. Let's have a look at the answers here. So if you did this correctly, you would have chosen C and D as the correct answers. Just put a smiley face into the chat or let me know how many you selected there. C and D. Cool. All right, lots of smiley faces. Well done. Good work. Nice, nice, nice. Cool. Good. So the first one was wrong because alcoholism is often a result of long-term homelessness. No, it's not a result. It's not caused by homelessness. They never said that. They said there's a lot of homeless people who are alcoholics, but it never talked about causation in that way. B, there was nothing talking about authorities telling homeless people what to do. And E, homelessness is on the decline in most major cities. Well, right at the end, it said homelessness is a challenge in most major cities, which is very different. And C and D were mentioned. Let's do another one. Let's do the same thing. I don't want you to listen and read. I want you to listen and look away. But I want you to make sure you understand this very clearly before we start. And I'll give you 1 minute at the end.
one of the reasons why we might be suffering is that we are surrounded by snobs. Now, in a way, I've got some bad news, particularly for anybody who's come to Oxford from abroad. There's a real problem with snobbery because sometimes people from outside the UK imagine that snobbery is a distinctively UK phenomenon fixated on country houses and titles. The bad news is that's not true. Snobbery is a global phenomenon. We're a global organization. This is a global phenomenon. It exists. What is a snob? A snob is anybody who takes a small part of you and uses that to come to a complete vision of who you are. That is snobbery. And the dominant kind of snobbery that exists nowadays is job snobbery. You encounter it within minutes at a party when you get asked that famous, iconic question of the early 21st century, what do you do? And according to how you answer that question, people are either incredibly delighted to see you or look at their watch and make their excuses.
All right, now perhaps you looked at this verb here and you thought, infers, what does that mean? A way that you can think about infers is, a simpler way is thinks. Now, we use thinks because he didn't say it. The question prompt could say the speaker says that snobbery is, but all of these things he won't say explicitly. It's implicit. It's perhaps what he says without saying it. It's what he thinks. So we're it's really hard to explain. We're guessing what he thinks. Anyway, the speaker thinks that snobbery is A, B, C, D, or E. Let's have a look at the answers here. The answers are A and E. Okay, so he infers or he thinks that snobbery is a limited way of viewing others because he's talking about it as if it's a terrible thing in a funny way. And then E, commonly experienced when discussing jobs. Well, actually, it's not really an inference. He talks about job snobbery. There you go, in the second part there. So if you got B and E, well done. Inferences are difficult. The way you need to think about it is what the speaker means or what the speaker really thinks about something. That's how you should approach these types of questions. What the speaker's saying without saying it explicitly. They're difficult ones. Okie dokie, cool. So the score so far is out of 14, 10 for summarized spoken text, and there were 4 for multiple choice, choose multiple answers. Of course, this one included negative marking as well. Now we move to an easier task. We've just been through the really tough ones. Let's do fill in the blanks. This one's a bit simpler. Okay, so from now, as I said, you'll be managing your own time. So the full time remaining will be here, and you'll need to move through these ones efficiently. This one's pretty straightforward. You'll just hear the audio. You can type directly into these text boxes, or you can do as I did on test day, which was to write the words on the erasable notebook and then type them in afterwards. I just felt more comfortable doing that. You'll get 2 or 3 of these on test day. Skim the text, concentrate, focus, take notes if you want to add them afterwards, or you can type them in. Of course, in tonight's one, we have to take notes. Before you submit or click next, you need to check the meaning and check the grammar and check the spelling, okay? Because this one it affects both your listening and writing scores. Let's do it. Away you go.
You may know this feeling. You wake up to multiple unread notifications on your mobile phone. Your calendar is already packed with meetings, sometimes double or triple booked. You feel engaged, you feel busy. In fact, you feel productive. But at the end of it all, something still feels missing. You try to figure out what it is, but before you do, the next day starts all over again. That was how I felt 2 years ago. I felt stressed. I felt anxious. I felt a bit trapped. The world around me was moving very quickly, and I didn't know what to do. I started wondering to myself, how do I keep up with all this? How do we find fulfillment in a world that's literally changing as fast as we can think?
Ten seconds. Okie dokie, let's have a look at the answers here. Answers are, I don't know if you got number one. When I first listened to this, I missed number one because he kind of stuttered when he said this, but it was unread notifications. Unread notifications. In fact, you feel productive. Number two, productive. Number three, bit, B-I-T. Excuse me. Number four, wondering, not wandering, wondering. And then number five, literally, with two L's and a Y. So if you got each of those words with the correct spelling and the correct word form, you would get 100% for this task. Let's see who got out of, how many you got out of five. Who got five? Because, yes, if you get a misspelling, that means you get 0. That's right. 5 out of 5. Cool. Quite a few people did. I thought the first one was really tough. Well done. That's great. Okie dokie. So let's say you get 5 points for that one. This is not the real weightage in the exam, by the way. This is just E2 language having fun. Let's do highlight correct summary. This is what it looks like on test day. What you'll notice is that the answer options are quite long. So this is definitely a task where you cannot read and listen at the same time. Reading and listening at the same time is almost impossible, by the way. So the better you are at note taking, the more likely you are to select the right answer. Okay, so let's run through the method. You need to focus. You'll have time to skim the options very quickly. Number 3, this is critical. Take notes and focus on keywords. Understand what you're listening to and use your notes to reinforce your understanding, your comprehension. Number 4, read the responses carefully, match them to your notes and your understanding, eliminate incorrect ones, and eliminate the ones not mentioned until you find the one that matches your memory and your notes. Don't read while listening. Here we go.
My middle child, Oliver, was born with a rare form of muscular dystrophy, or MD. MD affects his muscle strength, his pulmonary system, distorts his body, and makes everyday life more challenging than most. From the time he could walk, which was until about 2.5, he had to wear leg braces for stability. Because he wasn't growing appropriately, he had to wear a feeding tube that was placed on his face. He endured stares, and so did I. But my husband, Greg, and I told him that no matter what, he was just like everybody else. But everyday tasks for Oliver that we all take for granted were incredibly challenging. That simple act of dressing yourself, the very thing that I adore, was a nightmare for him. His form of MD does not affect his mind. His brain is an A+, which means he's acutely aware of his shortcomings. This became very evident when he started school, and that daily act of dressing yourself was a constant reminder of what he could and could not do.
10 seconds. Okay, again, this is very much like multiple choice single or multiple choice multiple answers, whereby after the audio has finished, you have your memory, you have your notes, you look, you go, no, 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 yes, something like that, okay? I think we're spending too much time after the audio has finished, but please let me know if you need more time. Okie dokie, let's look at the answer here. The answer is C. The physical limitations brought about by the disease, MD, will be felt every day by those with the disease. That word physical is critical because during the lecture, the speaker said something about how your mental health is still the same or your psychological abilities are still the same. It just affects you physically. So this was all about physical limitations and the suffering that comes with that. So the answer was, in fact, C. I hope you got that. Let's do another one. Here we go.
Years of studying DNA replication and photosynthesis did little to prepare me for a career in technology. I had to teach myself everything from sales, marketing, strategy, even a little programming on my own. I had never held the title of product manager before I sent my resume into Etsy. I had already been turned down by Google and several other firms and was getting frustrated. The company had recently gone public, so as part of my job application, I read the IPO filings from cover to cover and built a website from scratch, which included my analysis of the business and 4 ideas for new features. It turned out the team was actively working on 2 of those ideas and had seriously considered a 3rd. I got the job. We all know people who were ignored or overlooked at first, but went on to prove their critics wrong. My favorite story, Brian Acton, an engineering manager who was rejected by both Twitter and Facebook before co-founding WhatsApp, the mobile messaging platform that would sell for $19 billion.
10 seconds. All right, let's have a look. I'm not sure if you need me to give you more time there or not. No, looks good. You all look fine. Cool. All right, let's have a look. Looks like it was a fight between B and D. Just before we look at the answer, let's think about this. Now, remember that this task is to highlight the correct summary. So overall, what was the lecture about? Overall, not a detail, not an example. What's the summary of the lecture? So was it that not all people who set out from university will achieve success in their specialist area of study? Was that what the whole talk was about, really, in general? B, was it about if you apply focus and attention, it's possible to excel at areas other than those you were originally trained in? C, Often large companies are working on projects that graduates dream up on their own. Is that what the lecture was about in general? Or D, it's not possible to predict where future jobs will lie for graduates as the world is changing rapidly. Is that what it was about? The answer is in fact B. What he was saying through and through in a couple of different areas here is that if you apply focus and attention, it's possible to excel at areas other than those you originally trained in, okay? If you see those blue parts of the text, you'll see that that is in fact what it was all about. And in fact, right at the end, he used an example of a person who did the same thing. Somebody who was overlooked or ignored, but then went on to become famous and successful. Cool, I hope you got B. So far we're out of 14, 19, 21. Okie dokie, let's do multiple choice, choose single answer. This is what it looks like on test day. You can see that it has little radio round buttons, so you can only select one of these, okay? Again, your time's ticking down. You need to manage your own time. So you've got 7 of 15 left. You'll get 2 or 3 multiple choice single answers on test day. Here's the method. You need to read the question prompt carefully. What's it asking for? The question prompt will ask you for what caused what, or what's the inference, or what's the purpose, or what's the speaker's opinion, or what's the speaker's attitude towards this, or what's the main idea of this, or what's the detail that she mentions, something like that. You need to understand that question prompt carefully. So that's the first thing you should read. My suggestion is that's the only thing you should read. Read that, forget the answer options, then you listen carefully, keeping that question prompt in mind. It says skim the options quickly, but I don't think you should. Let's think about this. Number 3, you focus. Number 4, take notes, focusing on key words. Reread the question prompt, read the option carefully, continue to listen till the end, eliminate incorrect options and options not mentioned. Don't read while listening. Don't just choose an option because it has some of the same keywords. Here we go. Sound like a school teacher there. 3, 2, 1.
My subject today is learning, and in that spirit, I want to spring on you all a pop quiz. Ready? When does learning begin? Now, as you ponder that question, maybe you're thinking about the first day of preschool or kindergarten, the first time that kids are in a classroom with a teacher. Or maybe you've called to mind the toddler phase when children are learning how to walk and talk and use a fork. Maybe you've encountered the 0 to 3 movement, which asserts that the most important years for learning are the earliest ones. And so your answer to my question would be, learning begins at birth. Well, today I want to present to you an idea that may be surprising, that may even seem implausible, but which is supported by the latest evidence from psychology and biology. And that is that some of the most important learning we ever do happens before we're born.
Okay, so let's have a look at the answer here, single answer. The answer is D. Important learning may occur in utero. Now, where did that come from? That came from, in fact, right at the end. Well, today I wish to present to you an idea that may be surprising and may even seem implausible, which is supported by the latest evidence from psychology and biology. And that is that some of the most important learning we ever do happens before we're born. That is the same thing as saying in utero. In utero means technically, is it in the stomach or something like that? It's a Latin term. So D is the correct answer. Now, even if you didn't know what in utero meant, you could have eliminated A, B, C, because that's not what she was talking about. And that would have left you with D, and you would have had to have taken a guess on this word in utero, but that was the correct one there. Cool, let's do another one.
I had to move thousands of kilometers away to follow a dream.
Before we do that, I have to fix something. My apologies. That's better. Okay, cool, back at it. Let's start again. Here we go.
I had to move thousands of kilometers away to follow a dream I have had ever since I was a child. And that dream was to become an architect. That was impossible at the time in my country. There were no schools of architecture. So when I got a scholarship to study in China, I left my life and my family behind, and I moved to Shanghai. It was an amazing time. This country was going through a major building boom. Shanghai, my new home, was quickly turning into a skyscraper city. China was changing. World-class projects were built to convey a new image of development. Modern, striking engineering marvels were going up literally everywhere. But behind these facades, exploitation of huge numbers of migrant workers, massive displacement of thousands of people made these projects possible. And this fast-paced development also contributed significantly to the pollution that is haunting China today.
Okay, that should be enough time. Let's have a look at the answer here. The answer is in fact C again, I believe. So the speaker suggests that the building boom in China had both positive and negative implications, including amazing new developments at the cost of human resource and the environment. There's a part in here, right at the beginning, he's talking about how amazing it is, right? This is all amazing. Okay, then he says something about but. Okay, so this would be the negative. Behind these facades, exploitation of huge numbers of migrant workers, massive displacement of thousands of people made these projects possible. And this fast-paced development also contributed significantly to the pollution that is haunting China today. So here were the positive, here were the negative here. So hopefully you chose C there. By the way, when he was talking about the negative, he was doing it in a voice or a tone of voice that actually sounded positive, which was kind of strange. So if you did miss that one, fair enough. Here we go. So we've now got 2 points for the multiple choice choose single answer. Let's do select missing word. This is what it looks like on test day. You'll see just a few answer options. These are usually a single word or a short phrase like these ones here. You'll also see up here, it says you will hear a recording about X, and that will give you an idea of what this audio is going to be about. You get 2 or 3 of these. The name of the game with this one is to anticipate or predict what the final word or the final words will be. So read the instructions to find the topic, skim the answer options, focus to select the best answer. Check the grammar. Does it make sense? Don't know, guess. The key here is to watch the timer to know when the beep is coming, right? And you can only select the correct answer by understanding the entire context of the audio. Let's do this. Here we go.
Now, I know we live in a capitalist society and profits matter a lot. So let's look at it from a financial angle, shall we? The US nonprofit arts industry generates more than $166 billion in economic activity. It employs 5.7 million people, and it returns $12.6 billion in tax revenue. But this is only a financial angle, right? We all know that the arts is way more than just an economic value. The arts brings meaning to life. It's the spirit of our culture. It brings people together and it supports creativity and social.
And you should have the answer by now. You should, in fact, have the answer almost immediately, because what you're doing, in effect, is completing that person's sentence for them. Okay, I believe the last word was social. The final word you should have chosen was cohesion. It brings people together and it supports creativity and social cohesion. So first of all, the entire text was talking about the positive effects of the arts industry, about why it's good. And the final sentence, which is so critical, that phrase brings people together, should have triggered you to select cohesion as the correct final word to complete that sentence. Cool, so you get 1 point for that one. All right, we're on to the second last task for the evening, highlight incorrect words. Let's have a look at it. It looks like this, okay? So you get the audio and down here is the transcript. So let's say this is a lecture. Here's the transcript of the lecture. What you need to do when this starts, you take your mouse and you move along the sentence like this. And when you hear a word that is different from what is said in the audio, you click and it turns yellow and you keep moving and you don't look back and you keep moving and you hear a word that is different from the audio and you click and you keep moving, okay? You get 2 or 3 of these on test day. So skim the text quickly, read the text quickly, move the cursor to the start of the text so you're ready, focus, move the cursor along the text while you listen. Don't guess because there is negative marking. You'll get 1 point for a correct answer, but you will lose a point if you click one incorrectly. Now, what we're going to do is, because you can't click on the text, I just want you to have your finger there ready. I want you to read and listen at the same time and just imagine that you're clicking the mouse when you see that word that differs from the audio. Then when I go through the answers, hopefully you'll memorize or remember which ones you clicked on, okay? Here we go.
Attention allows us to notice, select, and direct the brain's computational resources to a subset of all that's available. We can think of attention as the leader of the brain. Wherever attention goes, the rest of the brain follows. In some sense, it's your brain's boss. And over the last 15 years, I've been studying the human brain's attention system. In all of our studies, I've been very interested in one question. If it is indeed the case that our attention is the brain's boss, is it a good boss? Does it actually guide us well? And to dig in on this big question, I wanted to know three things. First, how does attention control our perception? Second, why does it fail us, often leaving us feeling foggy and distracted? And third, can we do anything about this fogginess? Can we train our brain to pay better attention?
All right, you should have it by now. There should actually be no time spent at the end here. So the answer that this. The text said constitution, but the speaker said computational. The text said loss, the speaker said boss. The text said concentration, the speaker said attention. The text said comprehension, the speaker said perception. The text said use, the speaker said train. So in fact, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks that you should have made. Okay. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. How did you go? What did you get out of 5 there? Nice. Somebody missed lost, but that's okay. If you just missed it, you won't get a negative score if you just missed one. So that's fine. So it won't go down. It'll just stay at 4 out of 5. That's cool. Nice, guys. Well done. Okay, we're now up to, let's say you get 5 there. We're now up to write from dictation. This is the final task. And what I want to say just quickly is, I think I'm giving you too much time after the audio finishes to select your answer. On test day, you need to manage your time well. You need to move through these tasks efficiently. So what you need to do is basically, once you've selected an answer, click next, move on, okay? Because you can't go back and replay the audio. It's not like reading. In reading, you can go back and read the text again and read the text again, and you can stay there all day if you want. But with listening, the audio disappears, and all you're left with is your memory and your notes. You use that, you match it to the answer options, for example. You go, okay, I'm pretty sure it's C. You tick C, you click next and move on. So don't wait around too much, because you want to get to this task here, because this task contributes quite substantially to your writing score. So if you're getting low speaking and writing scores, it may be because of this task here. Okie dokie, this is what it looks like. You'll hear a single sentence. You just have to type that sentence there and then click next. That's what you have to do. So obviously there's a listening component where you need to listen very carefully to the sentence being said. And then there's a writing component where you then write it out. So focus on the meaning, write the sentence immediately, check your spelling and punctuation. In fact, you know what? You don't have to. I confirmed with Pearson that spelling is important. Punctuation is not important. You don't need to worry about putting apostrophes or commas or capital letters or anything like that. It's probably not a bad idea, but anyway. Cool. So my suggestion for this one is listen, then write. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Clothing can affect your mood, your health, and your self-esteem.
Oopsie. Sorry. Let me do that again. I don't know if you heard the entire sentence. 3, 2, 1.
Clothing can affect your mood, your health, and your self-esteem.
Okay, that should be plenty of time there. Let's do number 2 in 3, 2, 1.
When we hold our babies for the first time, we might imagine that they're clean slates.
Alrighty, last one in 3, 2, 1.
This was a time, let's remember, of tremendous ideological ferment.
Okie dokie, that should be plenty of time. Here we go. Let's look at the answers here. Number 1.
Clothing can affect your mood, your health, and your self-esteem.
Number 2.
When we hold our babies for the first time, we might imagine that they're clean slates.
Number 3.
This was a time, let's remember, of tremendous ideological ferment.
Okay, I unfortunately cannot see you, and I cannot see how well you've done, and I can't see whether you've just corrected your sentence. In fact, I have no idea what's going on here. I'm just like, Okay, cool. Right, so the first one had 11 words. Clothing can affect your mood, your health, and your self-esteem. Don't worry about the comma here. You won't be marked down for punctuation. Next one had 17 words. When we hold our babies for the first time, we might imagine that they are clean slates. And the third sentence had 11 words. This was a time, let's remember, of tremendous ideological ferment. Well, maybe you didn't get that last word. Neither would have I, probably. All right, guys, let's have a look at the total score. So for right from dictation, you got 39 points. Remember, this is not the same scoring that they use in the actual PTE. This is very simplified scoring that we're just using here. In the actual PTE, you have different weightages for the different tasks, of which we do not know. Nobody knows except for Pearson what those weightages are. But maybe you got a score out of 68 just for fun. Let's have a look. 57, 58, 57, 62, 62, pretty good, 59. Okay, somebody's asked me this, and this is what I want to nip in the bud. Somebody said, Jay, I got 61 out of 68. Does that mean I get 79 for listening? I don't know. I don't know. Again, these sorts of statistical calculations we can't interpret on our end, I'm afraid. Nevertheless, it's damn good practice. 59, 50, 46, 46, 49, 50, 59, 41, 64, 64. Cool. I have a question for you. Because I'm sitting here, okay, I want to ask you about this. I need some feedback. Just let me go to one of these tasks. Am I giving you too much time at the end? What I'm interested in is this thing here at the end, after you've listened to the audio, am I giving you too much time or not enough? Or is it just, let's say it's 2 minutes, no, am I giving you too much or not enough? Can you just type into the chat too much or not enough, please? Just so I can have some feedback. Too much. Okay, yeah. Okay, great. I thought it was too much. That's good. Nice. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll reduce those timers down to, a much more reasonable time. Yeah, good one. All right, no worries. Thanks for that. I have no idea. I cannot see you. All right, cool. Just before we finish, whoopsie, let's go to the end. There's a little analysis that I want to do with you, which is if you didn't get a great score, why not? So let's do a little analysis here, which says if you didn't get a top score, why not? Let's figure out where the problem is, right? Maybe it's a lack of vocabulary. That's critical. Listening depends upon your vocabulary. Speaking is too quick. And maybe it finished before you sort of tuned in. Tuned in means you concentrated and started to focus. What you'll notice in PTE listening, because it's the last section of the test, and because you're looking at a computer screen and not a human face, it's incredibly difficult to concentrate. It's very easy to get distracted and to look out the window and to wonder what you're going to have for lunch. So you really need to push your focus and your concentration in those last minutes of the test. Maybe you can't distinguish the words because when words are spoken, they all blend together into this one single sound, almost like that. Maybe you couldn't get the main idea. Again, maybe it was a lack of focus. Maybe you panicked, which is totally possible. What can you do about it all? Well, okay, we haven't given you any suggestions there. I tell you what's a good resource. A good resource is any lecture that you find online. Really, because Pearson actually use real, authentic lectures. They're not scripted ones like in the IELTS. They're actually legitimately taken from universities and whatnot. So go to YouTube, find a topic you're interested in, watch some lectures, listen to some lectures. That'll be helpful. And also note-taking. I can't stress how important it is to take good notes while doing this section of the test. Without good notes, some of these questions are pretty much impossible to do. For example, summarize spoken text, multiple choice, multiple answers, highlight correct summary. These tasks without notes make it about 10 times harder, or certainly much harder. Cool. Let me stick around and answer some questions. Oh, good. Somebody said it was very emotional tonight. Okay. Okay, so Babar Ali actually says that panic is the main reason why he or she is struggling on this part of the test. Yeah. Fair enough. It's tough. Good. Yeah, okay. Sushi says that TED lectures are kind of slow and too clear because they're actually scripted and memorized by the speakers, most of them. Yeah, you'll find that the real lectures actually have a lot of stumbling and umming and ahhing and restarting sentences. They're a lot messier. So that's probably a good idea. Okay, here's a good question. Jay, in listening, what rate of speech do the speakers use? Is it really fast, or is it really slow, or is it a mix? It's a bit of a mix, but it's at a normal, natural pace. Some speakers speak a little bit faster than others. What it is not is simple and clear. Okay, it's not simple and clear. It's real. It's real. Jay, I am bad at spelling. How do I overcome this problem? We've got a series of spelling videos on our Core Skills YouTube channel. In fact, if you go to YouTube and type in E2 Learn English, you'll see a bunch of spelling videos that you might find helpful. But here's the critical thing with spelling is this. Let's say you're writing your summarized spoken text summary. And you're going to spell a word. Here's my favorite one that I always struggle to spell, which is unnecessary. I always spell it wrong. Too many S's, too many R's, too many C's, too many N's. So what you do is you write that and you think, I reckon that's probably wrong. So what you do is you think of a synonym that you can spell, like not needed, unnecessary, and just change the word. That'll fix your spelling. What we have found, though, with looking at a lot of people's report cards is that spelling does not have a big effect on your overall writing score. In fact, we've seen a number of people get 90s for writing, and yet they'll get quite low spelling scores. That, in fact, happened to me. I got 90 for writing, but 68 for spelling. Don't tell mum. Okay. Jay, I can't seem to remember the sentence in Write from Dictation. Well, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have a magic solution for that. What it is, maybe pay more attention to the listening aspect, the comprehension aspect, and think about how this single sentence that you will hear will be broken up into several parts or chunks. And you're listening to those chunks of language, not to individual words. You're listening for parts, sentence parts. So there'll usually be 3 chunks or sentence parts. That's sort of all I can help to offer, unfortunately. It really is a great test of your vocabulary and grammatical knowledge, and also knowledge of just phrases in English as well. Jay, what question type contributes to listening score the most? I don't know, unfortunately. Some of them are purely for listening, like multiple choice. They only affect your listening score. Some of them affect both your writing and listening score, which was summarize spoken text, fill in the blanks, and write from dictation. I think that's all. Jay, in Write from Dictation, if I accidentally put some words in there that weren't in the original sentence, will that affect my score? Yes. So you'll be negatively scored for including words that weren't in the original, for excluding words that were in the original, and for misinterpreting words. So for example, let's say the speaker says impossible and you write implausible, that will be considered wrong. Okay, I'm just reading for some questions here. Jay, where do I find succinct information on note-taking? There is a lesson, in fact, in the E2 language platform in the listening section on good note-taking. So you may want to find that. So go to PTE course listening and you'll see note-taking in or around the methods lesson there. So Christian does very well at everything except for Write from Dictation. Yeah. Strange. You need to try and work out what's going on yourself. I don't know. Maybe you're putting too much pressure on yourself. Maybe take a step back and just really separate out that listening and writing. You know, just do pure listening, trust your memory, and then write. I don't know. You'll have to work it out. Okay, Jay, in listening, multiple choice, multiple answers, do we get 2 or 3 answers options to choose, or correct answers? Yeah, you don't know. It might be 2, it might be 3. Somebody's saying, how can I boost my scores before Monday's test? Watch the methods lesson, do the practice. Anant, Jay, if we know the answer, should we just click the correct option and then click next? No, listen to the entire lecture, because right at the end might be something extremely important. Jay, I took the PTE before and I got 75 in writing, but 90 in written discourse. How is that possible? You may have written off topic. So, no, sorry, written discourse just comes from your essay. That's it. Only comes from your essay. But remember, there are other writing tasks. Summarize written text, summarize spoken text. So maybe you didn't do so well in those, and perhaps that brought down your overall writing score. Jay, what can I do to improve select missing word? Right, so that's the task that tests your ability to anticipate what somebody's going to say. So that's basically what you're doing, is finishing somebody's sentence. That's what you need to start to pay attention to that in your own mind when you're listening to somebody and thinking about how what they've said will lead to what they will say, okay? There's context and there's a storyline. It's really about paying attention, very close attention to what somebody's saying. It's quite an amazing skill if you can anticipate what somebody will say. Jay, I took the PTE mock test last week and I did pretty poorly in speaking and reading. If you did poorly in speaking in the mock test, just make sure that you are using a correct microphone. If you just use your computer microphone, it doesn't tend to score you well, okay? Either use your headphones set from your smartphone or buy yourself a USB microphone. For reading, well, I think the mock test is pretty tough, to be honest. You may find the real test slightly less challenging. Just saying. Jay, I find it challenging to keep up with the time during the test. I think it's definitely a good idea to reduce the timer of the questions. Okay, will do. Thank you for that. Latta Franson, you'll have to wait till you receive a reply for your message that you sent through to help.e2language.com. Jay, what's the difference between repeat sentence and write from dictation? Well, one of them you say the sentence, the other one you write the sentence. So the listening aspect is the same. Jay, does punctuation affect write from dictation? No, it doesn't. You can but just to be safe, I would put a capital letter and there's no harm, okay? Jay, I always feel that I'm not prepared well for the test. I booked on the 25th of July. Well, you know, if you're really struggling with this PTE, if you're getting 40s and 50s and you need 79s, I don't suggest that you keep taking the PTE. That's a very expensive practice. What you may need to do is take a step back and do some English for academic purposes course or something like that, or a general English course, just to boost your fundamental skills. E2 Language will provide you with everything you need in terms of methodologies and practice for the actual exam. But if you're lacking in vocabulary and grammar, then you may need to go to a school and build that foundation. Jay, yesterday was my first PTE attempt. I did well, but it was hard to manage the time and reorder paragraphs. Hard to manage the time and reorder paragraphs was tough. I need to book a study plan. Please help. Yep, no problem. If your package allows it, you just click that button and you should see the schedule and you can book the study plan. Jay, in highlight incorrect words, if I accidentally highlight one, can I click it again to unhighlight it? I think you can. I think you can. Jay, do we get negative marks for additional words in write from dictation. If we add a word that wasn't in the original, yes, you will be penalized for that. Basically, to get a perfect score in write from dictation, you write the exact same sentence that the speaker said, okay? In the same order, with the same grammar. Yep, good one. Inya, I get you. Well done. Jay, are you going to do a full mock test for all areas like we have on test day? No, unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have time, but I will eventually, but it won't be for a few months. So those full mock tests will have to wait, unfortunately. Varun, Jay, in speaking, especially describe image, do very small ums and ahs also reduce the score? Well, they allow a few. You're allowed to say and ah a little bit because it's very natural, but try to resist. Trying to resist umming and ahhing, well, it's like trying not to swear. It's like trying not to sneeze. You know, it's a natural instinct to say, you need to become conscious of it and you need to reduce it and possibly even eliminate it if you can. Even if it's just for during this test, it'd be a good thing. Thank you, Sonali. Thank you for your kind words there. Sonali's a big fan of E2 language, which is cool. Sergi, is it possible to improve from straight 70s to 79 in 3 weeks? Yeah, yep, I reckon that's possible. Yep. Aaron's got a question about reorder paragraph. Okay, so Aaron, this is how reorder paragraph works. Say you've got 5 sentences, right? Now you're scored on the pairing of the sentences. So A and B, if A and B are together, then you'll get 1 point. Now that may mean that they're down the bottom. You'll still get a point, but that means the next ones will be wrong because then you need B and C to be together. So it's scored on the pairs of sentences that are together like that. Okay, that's all I can help you with. Okay, Jay, what does written discourse actually mean? Yeah, good question. In a word, it means structure. Okay, it's the structure of your essay. But it's not just the overall structure of having an introduction, your paragraphs, and a conclusion. It's the internal structure of your paragraphs, of your introduction, how your sentences flow and connect to each other. So look at it as if it's overall structure and then within structure as well. Jay, what's the difference between imply and infer? Yeah, good question. Not much. I would say that is almost the exact same thing. The speaker implies or the speaker infers. I would say they're synonyms. That means the same thing. So if you're stuck on the meaning of infer or an inference, use the word thinks or implies. The speaker implies or says, but didn't really say. Jay, do we get a notepad during the test? Yes, you do. You get a notepad. It's not paper. It's like a plastic thing, and you get these texture pens so you can write on it. It's not the best, to be honest. I think paper's better, but that's okay. Jay, can I upgrade and get 1 more tutorial as I have an exam on Monday? You can indeed. You just need to click the upgrade button in your platform. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm absolutely starving hungry. I'm very, very hungry. I wish you all the best if you're taking your exam soon. And if you're not, keep sticking at it. Keep coming to these live classes. Keep being motivated and keep practicing because that's the only way that you will get there. You need to work hard to do this. It's a bit of a tough exam, but you can do it. Cool. Thanks very much for coming along. I appreciate it. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. I'm so hungry. I will see you guys soon.